All right, welcome back. My name is Rowan Cook. I make coffee on the internet.
And my name is Ben Bicknell. I judge people who make coffee, but only at competitions.
And together we are It's Just Coffee, the podcast for people who know it's never just coffee.
Rowan, I am on stage judging competitions all the time.
You are.
And the hot topic is, what is in this coffee? There are flavors popping out of there that I did not expect. What is it actually? What's going on here?
How are they doing it? Are they co-fermenting it? Are they spraying it? What's happening? Are we doing yeast inoculation?
Is it real coffee?
Oh.
Is it just coffee? You know. So there's a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, not just on the competition stage, but out there in the world. But some of these flavors are incredible.
Absolutely.
They are so fun. They're so exciting to see popping out, and they create such good conversation. So today we have on the podcast here, we're podcasting from MICE here,
Melbourne International Coffee Expo.
We have an incredible guest to help us unpack that direct from the producer perspective. We have Edwin Noreña from Campo Hermoso.
Edwin Noreña.
Thank you so much for this invitation, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And let's talk about coffee.
Absolutely. But before we go in, on the way into the pod, I started brainstorming and I actually started coming up with like a nice little song. Campo Hermoso, yeah?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? I got to get in there. It goes a little bit like this. It goes, Campo Hermoso. A great coffee and a real good time. Campo Hermoso. Fermented coffees from your favorite guy. Campo Hermoso. I got berries and they taste real great. Campo Hermoso. A great place for a friendly date.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
If you want to
so
clip
much.
that, you can put it up on the website, put it on the Insta.
As your jingle.
You got it.
You make me feel very comfortable with that song. Thank you so much.
His hips really got moving there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
great.
had to get up. You can't not dance when you're singing
You
Campo
need to visit
Hermoso.
Colombia to learn to dance.
Oh, yeah. I need to get the hips moving better. Absolutely. Hey, why is that producer laughing so much at
I
that?
don't know.
Get out of here. There you go. The producer's up.
Just listening on audio, you missed those hip sways.
Oh, that's a
from
great
Rowan.
sizzle to go and
Yeah.
watch us on YouTube,
Go
I think.
check that out.
Yeah. The hips don't lie.
It's a lie.
So maybe a good place to start, Edwin. You know, it's interesting seeing on your Instagram account for Campo Hermoso that you actually list yourself as a research and development center. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you kind of see yourself and your business as really doing a lot of discovery and a lot of learning. Help us with that. A lot of people have heard these terms out there, right? Obviously, we've got the classic washed and natural ferments, but now we're hearing terms like anaerobic process, thermoshock, but also co-fermented or infused or flavored. Can you kind of give us your definition of what each of these things mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was more purist in the past than I am right now. Yeah, I come from the old school in coffee, talking about this kind of preference, like the full washed coffee, that's very unique profile of a very good washed terroir genetic variety. But we know that right now the trends are changing a lot. So in Campo Hermoso, we are trying to push the profile across the process, and we began to do this kind of thing in 2015. And today we are saying that the market are changing and requesting more clarity and cleanness in that kind of coffee. So talking about the co-fermented or infused coffee from my side and from my view, maybe it's the same. Because co-fermented or infused at the end is put some material on the fermentation to push the profile and the intensity on flavors at the top. So depends of the material that you are putting. For example, in our case, from our view, we are using in some case hops in the fermentation.
Like beer hops.
Like beer hops, yes.
Very
But
cool.
in all our coffees, we are trying to put organic material.
Okay.
Yeah, and from other, I know that other coffee producer, I put in fruits, a lot of things. But the most important from this kind of process is the transparency. You need to know what are the producer putting into the tanks.
Yeah.
2 questions. Where'd you get the idea to put hops with it? And what does it taste like when co-fermented with hops?
The first time when we do a fermentation with hops, the coffee tastes terrible. Was a very, very bad coffee.
Yeah.
Because the bitter is so high for the hops. So we use the hops trying to get more intense in flavor in the herbal notes. And the fruity notes depend on the hops that you are using. So from our side and our technique is very easy. We put the hops in hot water, remove the crush, and in that way we can put the bitterness down.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you a beer drinker, or did it just come
I love
separately?
the beer.
Oh, okay. So
He
is that
loves the
is that what
beer.
inspired it?
Yeah, I was inspired in the pandemic time.
Drinking a lot of beer in the pandemic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Been there.
we was trying to do beer on the pandemic time. So why not beer with coffee? And the result, I know that was terrible, but we was trying to do our best. And right now, that kind of coffee are winning competition. So we are maybe doing something good.
Yeah.
Well, if it was my pandemic coffee, I would have had a wine-infused coffee there going on.
We were all doing a little bit of home delivery of that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so just to clarify, so you've got normally coffee is processed by either, if it's a wash process, you're pulping the cherries, you're fermenting it just in a tank with water, you're rinsing that off and then drying it. And a natural process is whole cherries. So co-fermentation generally occurs, you're putting it into the tank after it's been pulped as a washed coffee, is that correct?
Yes, but in Campo Hermoso, we don't use water for process.
Right, okay.
All the fermentation are dry. Only the mucilage and the material that we are putting into the tank. So we began with a sherry fermentation with around between 72 hours at 96 hours. At that time, we collect the mosto. Mosto is a juice result of this sherry fermentation.
And sherry in the sherry cask, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then
cool.
we put the cherries, and then we put the material into the second or the third stage of fermentation. It's something like a multi-stage fermentation.
Sure.
And
sure.
without water.
So to me, that technique almost doesn't feel infused because it's just a cask. Is that right? You're not adding any other material, or you were?
No, in the sherry fermentation, we don't add anything.
Okay, yeah.
In some coffees that will end in natural process,
Sure.
we put something in that fermentation stage,
Okay, yeah.
but with mosto.
Got it. Okay. And so co-fermentation is adding in hops, or it's adding in fruit in with the fermentation process.
Watermelon.
Or watermelon or lemongrass. And then infused. How is infused coffee different to co-fermented?
Let me explain with example. For the Enigma Sudan Rume Black Honey Hops, in that coffee we are making 3 stages of fermentation. First stage is fermenting in sherry, 96 hours.
Okay.
We collect the mosto, we pulp the cherries, and we put the mosto with the hops in the second stage of fermentation.
Okay.
That could be a co-fermentation because you are fermented the mucilage bean with other material,
Yes.
but at the same time you are infusing hops into the tank.
Yeah.
So for me, co-fermented and infused is something very close. Yeah. For example, watermelon. If you put fruit into a tank, not all the time the result will be the same flavor of the fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We use dehydrated watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to import that material
Okay.
to put on the tank, but we need to say that this kind of material have preservatives, have sugar.
So, yeah.
And then next level, I was just going to say, I've seen like those roasteries that just have coffee and they're just dumping in like oils into the coffee or whatever. you know?
Well, that was the old school thing of like, you could do flavored coffee back in the day where you would roast the coffee and then, coat it in a flavoring syrup. But this kind of movement is really shifting where that value can be created, and maybe obviously the quality and subtlety of that.
So are you doing any yeast inoculation? Because you need to do anaerobic fermentation for that, right? So does that not work?
Yeah, all that kind of coffee to get that intensity on flavor need to ferment in an aerobic way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, for the fermentation, you have two ways, or lactic fermentation or alcoholic fermentation. So if you are thinking to get more body, creamy texture, you need to use the lactic fermentation.
And how do you do that?
The lactic fermentation, we put lactobacillus, and it's easy to do. You put salt.
And you're normally doing all of that kind of stuff at the pulped stage in mucilage.
In mucilage.
Yeah,
It's easy to do in mucilage.
Yep.
If you are thinking to do in sherries, you need more time, more material.
Sure.
And at the end, if you don't control the fermentation, the result could be acetic acidity.
Yeah.
For the trend in the actuality, the people don't want the acetic flavor in a coffee.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Marco Beverage Systems.
I tell you what, baristas get slammed behind the bar day in, day out. I think they're the unsung heroes of the industry.
And Marco is quietly trying to remove some of their daily slog.
The Milk Pal is built for busy bars. You simply press a button, you got hot milk, hot foam, cold foam, textured to perfection.
It's definitely a lot of options. They can do dairy and oat milk as well, whatever you're working with. You just press the button, select the exact texture and the volume.
And then, because you can select the volume, you're not tipping out milk down the sink, wasting money, and baristas aren't glued to the steam wand all day.
If it sounds like the Milk Pal could help you, go visit marcobeveragesystems.com and learn a little bit more.
It's pretty interesting, right? Because a lot of roasters and baristas hear these terms, and I think tends to be a bit more alignment with a co-ferment, because they're saying, okay, it's still like helping the natural fermentation along, but just influencing it. Whereas infused coffees, in people's mind, it's like, here's the finished green coffee, and they're just adding oils in, right? And it's like, as you said, like a synthetic or kind of an artificial thing. But I keep going, like, who are we to be saying what's like artificial and what's not? Because this shift is like power back to the producers, right? To really make changes and add value and just create a business that works. How have you found that change for Campo Hermoso?
Yeah, I think that this new trend are helping from our side, are helping us in origin side, because the producer are adding value in some way for this kind of coffee. And that produce coffee in the sea market is really hard, and have the possibility to add value across the process, across the fermentation is really, really good from our side. And about co-fermented and infused or flavored coffee, we need to say that if you are adding something on the tank, you need to say what are you putting on that. Yeah. And at the end, it's the customer who decides if drink that coffee. And I want to explain something about our experience in Dubai about a coffee tastes like cigarette. Yeah.
Like cigarettes?
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's very popular there. And all my customer was asking me, hey, Edwin, you need to do this coffee. Please help us to do this coffee. And that opened my mind about something, and is the roaster are infused the green beans too. Because that coffee, you can feel the cigarette flavor, but it's going in some way, and the flavor of coffee are going in the other way. Yeah. So my hypothesis and my point was that cigarette coffee was infused in the green beans. From our side, like coffee producer, we are trying to push the profile, but in the fermentation.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've never heard of cigarette coffee before.
Yeah.
How are you getting it to taste like cigarettes?
They have shisha. I don't know if you know the shisha. So it's very popular there. And
But are they putting like tobacco in? Like, how do you make something taste like
think
cigarettes?
it's only my opinion. I think that they are putting some artificial flavor in the green beans, and then the roast in a yellow color. Put out the beans in the roaster machine. Put the flavor, and they roaster again.
Oh my God, this is like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer crossbreeds tobacco and tomatoes and makes tobacco or whatever it is. We should, two very addictive things, cigarettes and caffeine. We should crossbreed the plants.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would it be called? Coffbacco?
Coffbacco.
And you need to know the price of that coffee. It's around $200 per kg.
Oh,
no,
wow.
per kilo.
And
oh
the
my
people
God.
are paying that coffee.
Well,
and requesting more and more and more.
Well, I do have a bit of a hot take now that you've brought up cigarette tasting coffee, and I hope you don't take any offense to this, but I was thinking about it last night. I was out and I saw someone vaping, and I was like, cigarettes and coffee have followed the exact same trajectory. Back in the day, we had the Marlboro Red, the big, dark, smoky, bitter. Take that. It's like the dark roasted espresso. It's bitter. It's what men drink. It puts hairs on your chest. It needs to be real. It makes your breath bad. And then as we've changed, the generations have evolved. Co-ferments, and now the vaping of the cigarette world. Because it's like, I don't want it to taste smoky and bitter. I want my coffee to taste like watermelon. I want my little grapey vapey. I want to be chugging on some of that.
It's crazy. It's something like the cowboy culture, you feel more strong and more man with the biggest cigarette.
Yeah.
It's very crazy, It's very crazy because I don't know where is the specialty coffee industry going, but that kind of coffee, it's really hard to explain because the people are drinking more and more.
Yeah.
And I will say, we don't condone vaping here, but we do condone co-fermented coffees.
Yeah. We're on board with that.
Experiment with that. Hey, so I just wanted to get some clarity or your thoughts around adding value and co-fermenting and quality of coffee. Like, is it a good idea to be like for farms who are like, hey, we have some of this coffee that's maybe not the best quality, but we can co-ferment, add value, add more desire for it? Or are we looking at it like something where we still want it to be made with a high quality coffee? Maybe we're co-fermenting it with local plants or fruits that match the terroir of the coffee. Like what's kind of the general, obviously there's both sides, but what's your consensus of how it should be done?
If you see our offer, and I'm talking about Campo Hermoso, all the fermented coffee or co-fermented are in an hybrid variety. I don't want to use geisha, citrus, red variety to co-ferment. The Sudan Rumé with hop is the only coffee that we have in that way. Yeah. But it's because with the Sudan Rumé, the fermentation with hop, it's amazing. With the fermentation, it's a very, very good option for the producer. And I know that some producers are not using the best quality sherry. So that's the reason why maybe you try this kind of co-fermented coffee and the score could be 84 because you feel a very bad aftertaste. And you can try a co-fermented coffee with 88 score. So it depends of the producer. For example, from our side, we try to get the best sherry for do this kind of coffee because we want to put on the market the best quality that we can.
Because to me, that makes so much sense where it's like, why would you get upset if you got farmers out there that maybe have a quality of bean that they need to move and can only sell at a low price? Add value. It's the old farmers market thing. Farmers used to have, strawberries out in the field. Maybe some of them are a bit damaged, some of them whatever. People don't want to buy them.
Yeah.
Go make a jam and you can sell it for triple the price at the farmers market.
Yeah. And I think it's super interesting, right? Because you are known as the coffee heretic a little bit, right? So you're obviously pushing boundaries. And like you said, you've been on a journey of changing from that classic washed profile. Do you get a bit of heat a little bit of anger from anyone? Like, is that difficult in the community sometimes where people are like, you are doing the bad things?
Of course. Some people don't like this kind of coffee.
Yeah.
We know this. We are on the two sides. People who love it, people who hate it.
Yeah.
But in all the experience with people that say me, hey, what are you doing with the beans? What are you doing with this kind of coffee? I say, wait, you need to hear me, and I want to explain what are we doing and why we are doing. And at the end, they told me, oh, Edwin, thank you so much for explaining, because we are thinking some different things, and right now I'm sure that I can drink this kind of coffee. And at the end, I want to say it, this kind of coffee, when you are putting good material, organic material, could be nutraceutic beverage. Because, for example, we are doing a very unique coffee fermented with organic cinnamon.
Oh, cinnamon.
Yeah. And that coffee is very popular for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the cinnamon is healthy.
Yes.
And the coffee too. Antioxidants, caffeine. And if you put together, you can have a very, very healthy beverage.
Some added
Yeah.
value.
So I was chatting with DAC coffee roasters from over in Amsterdam the other day. They were stopping by here, and they have a few different like co-ferments and interesting flavors on there. I believe they had one that was like cocoa bongo or something like that. It was coconut. They were saying one of the harder things they've found with co-ferments is the consistency. Like, they got a coconut co-ferment and everyone lost their minds. They sold out, everyone needed it. And then they tried to bring it back from the same producer, same farm, and it just wasn't the same. How do you deal with that? Is inconsistency an issue with co-ferments?
Yeah, I think that it's more important the consistent than the innovation, because you can do a very unique coffee, but if you don't have the possibility to do the same, you don't have anything. So from our side, we try to control all the steps behind the process to get that consistency. But at the end, the consistency is bullshit, because you never will have exactly the same coffee, because it's a lot of
So many variables.
yes behind all the coffees.
Yeah. So you've obviously been progressing things. You're putting the word out there, and we should be clear that Edwin doesn't just do co-fermented or infused coffees. He also does a beautiful range of clean, just standard kind of washed process, but beautifully delivered. So if you're listening, go check out the full range. But
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Apex Lab.
If you listen to this podcast, you know Apex Lab mineral concentrates.
Yeah, these are the products that are used by world champions to unlock the full potential of their coffees.
But they've actually just released a new crazy product called Conflux. This is water that's been hit with ultra-low frequency electromagnetic waves.
It does sound crazy, but I actually saw some competitors use this technology at the World Barista Championships.
Look, I thought it sounded ridiculous, but till we did some tests here in the office, I could actually taste the difference. There was more body, there was more sweetness. And hey, if you're a critic or you're skeptical, I dare you to try it. See if there's a difference or not.
Yep. Visit apexlab.com and you be the judge.
when you see your coffees out in the market, it's being, or maybe not just your coffees, but other producers' coffees, is there something that really annoys you or gets you frustrated about how coffee is presented by roasters or cafes? Do you think there's something they're getting wrong that we should really be talking about?
I don't feel comfortable when I saw some producer doing co-fermented or infused coffee, and they are presented that coffee like genetic and terroir.
Okay.
I feel frustrated about it. And other thing that I want to say is, when I started doing this kind of coffee was in 2015, 2017. We teach a lot of producers to do it. Mm-hmm. And today, they are telling their own history about it. So, when I started in the specialty coffee industry, I started more in the education way than in the producer way.
Oh, right.
So I was trying to support and help a lot of producers, and I feel happy because some of that producer right now are very popular and are doing the best. But at the end, not all the producers are telling the history behind that success.
I got a question for you with co-fermented coffees. When do you think we're going to start seeing it on the big scale? I'm talking chains like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, or even like Nescafe Instant. Like, to me, I feel like co-ferments have such a huge space in that like giant market, because co-ferments to me speak to the specialty nerd that wants to get angry about what's not pure, but like the general consumer just wants something that tastes good.
Yeah.
I want to tell you experience with Starbucks. And Starbucks right now, I'm trying to get co-fermented coffee,
Yes.
Yeah. They looking for us to do one full container of strawberry fermentation per month.
Per month.
And it's crazy. But the price was terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put my coffee, and I need to say, with this kind of company. Yeah. And the only thing for that is it will be very popular, and for the small roastery, it will be good,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is going to be the bad side with like those bigger chains. They're probably going to try to extort the producers as much as possible. So
Yeah, I mean, there's like all of this stuff takes way more expense,
Yeah.
right? Like to manage consistency, food safety, because you're starting to add different products. Imagine like how much strawberry you would need for one container a month of
Yes.
co-fermented strawberries.
And I don't want that all the coffee tastes the same.
So it's super interesting. I think this space is really exciting and a nice challenge for the specialty coffee mentality, right? Is to kind of challenge ourselves and rethink, well, what kind of flavors are we doing? And like, is this really any different to having like a signature beverage?
Yeah.
But it's a signature beverage that's created by the producers at origin, where a lot more of the value can be captured. We can have these really exciting flavor profiles.
yeah. And as you said, we're not saying goodbye to the geishas.
Yeah.
We're not getting rid of it. There's just different options and different ways in. I mean, I'm just all for, I get the argument, if you don't like it, don't like it. But beyond that, it's like, get over it.
It's options.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of option, and I don't know why it's coming for the future, but I'm sure that the classic always will be on trend.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
There'll always be space for that.
Yeah.
But also space for innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you ask me what is my favorite coffee, I always prefer the full washed and classic style.
Okay.
So it's a decision of the market and about the customers.
So that's your go-to classic. If you ended with what is one of your most favorite or exciting experiments in coffee processing that you're doing right now?
I'm trying to push the profile in different ways with the hops.
Okay.
With the hops. Right now, we are trying to do new coffees with hops. And I think that we are pioneers on the fermentation with hops. So we are trying to redirect our co-fermented style in that way.
Great.
Edwin, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time and giving us a bit more knowledge on experimental processing and
School us
co-ferments,
up.
schooling
Yep.
us up. For anyone that's interested in, looking out for your beans, sourcing your beans, where can they find you?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you.
I hope to help in some way to the coffee community. If you are looking for some amazing coffee here in Australia, you can look for Condesa. Condesa is our official importer here. So let's try these amazing coffees.
And where else, if we've got a lot of listeners who are other places in the world, where should they look into your coffee?
Campo Hermoso Coffee Farm on Campo Hermoso coffeefarms.com.
Oh, amazing. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much for joining us. We'll have all those details in the description below, so you can go check them out if you need. If you have any questions for us or any guest recommendations, you can always hit us up at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com or our socials. It's Just Coffee Podcast. You can find it all there. I know that Ben's a little shy at the start of the show, but he did say once he's a bit more comfortable, he did want to join me in a little rendition and dance of Campo Hermoso, a good coffee and a real good time. Campo Hermoso, a little coffee from your favorite guy.
Well, hello.
Campo Hermoso.
It's heating up here in the podcast studio.
We'll see you next week, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye.